You want to find ways to keep everything going. And that's why we always talk a lot about, again, increasing your baseline steadily over time. So if it starts as 2 days a week, our next aim is 3 days, the next aim is 4 days, the next aim is 5 days, like getting to the point of being able to actively do something, 5 days to every single day, maybe a few rest days here and there. But it's one of the things that I always think about, in my own practice is I never schedule a rest day because a rest day will come.
Your body will tell you.
Our body will tell me and life will tell me.
True, you may not have a choice.
Yeah, you don't have a choice. Like some days, you have a lot of responsibilities. You have a lot of things on your plate, right? You have a kid, you have a job, you have 18 errands you have to run. Like all these moving pieces will always come into the fray, and then all of a sudden, boom, I don't really have time to do next to anything
this
today.
is a rest day, whether you want it to be or not.
Yeah, this is a rest day. So I never schedule a rest day because a rest day is always going to show up. Whether you want it to or not, you're like, oh, all of a sudden it's a rest day.
But I think then it helps you welcome it a little because
exactly.
If you're like, well, my rest day is Sunday and I was supposed to have this on Thursday, it becomes this aversion to it where then I think we're not doing any service. We're doing a disservice to that stress cortisol level. It's like, now I'm stressed out about, I thought this was going to be a big day. And there's always going to be that a little bit, but just embracing that there are going to be times when you don't have a choice or the choice shows up. And maybe in that moment you just think, you know what, actually, I'm not going to do as much today.
Exactly.
Because rest days and recovery can also show up even in the midst of your regular routine. Whether
100%.
you go to classes at your studio or you go to commune or you show up on the online studio and you think, what class am I going to do today? And that little inkling in your head that's like, you see the class that's new and you're like, I should do that. Or you had a planned a really hard practice. But then when you get there, you're like, I don't think that's what I want to do today. Or you feel yourself hovering into the full library and looking for a mellow flow and a restore, or you're at the studio and the teacher starts offering options and you kind of think like, I think I'm going to not today, right? Those are such important things to notice that show up and to be just open to the idea that like, it might be a sort of dynamic rest day, an active recovery day for you just within the natural flow because that's the decision that you needed to make in that moment and to honor that.
Exactly. And on top of that, if you schedule out a rest day, you could wake up, get to your mat, get to your practice, and you're like, dude, I'm ready to go today.
I feel good.
Yeah, like for whatever reason, the stars aligned, all your planets are in line with one another, like life is good, energy is flowing, and your being, inspiration is high, and you're like, oh, but I'm gonna rest. No, like that kills your momentum, that kills your energy. It's like, no, ride that wave, ride it, and then eventually, again, that rest day is gonna show up. Like I promise you, it does. That day when you start going in a class and you're like, I think I want modifications. That's gonna show up. That's gonna happen, no matter what. So instead of working with that mindset of, okay, I rest on the weekends, it's like, no,
whatever shows up.
Let whatever shows up show up, and kind of let the rest days come as they do. Because especially with this practice, unless you're new and you're going to be sore from it because it's new to you, once you've built up that initial baseline, you're not really at a place where there's an incredibly high level of physical stress unless you are somebody who is actively pushing range of motion to its nth degree, to the very end of your range of motion spectrum. If you're somebody that's doing that, you'll naturally need a bit more recovery. But for those of you that are just practicing, you're showing up, and I'm really trying to remove just from my vocabulary, it's coming, it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
But if you are someone who is practicing and your goal is practice,
just show up and move.
Show up and move, the intensity will never take you over the edge of it. So finding the recovery, and those moments for recovery and those moments for modification will just be very natural in your process.